In my last few videos, I spent a lot of time talking about the issues with the NBA right now. How they're really starting to pay the piper for a long, long time of just having a bad product on the court, issues off the court with the players are supposed to be cheering for, how they're making it very hard to cheer for them, just an overall bad structure, bad officiating, you name it. A lot of issues that have been going on for a long time with the NBA are really starting to catch up to them, and I've been making some videos about that. In those videos, I've also alluded to the fact that, I feel like the NFL is following them and that their day of reckoning will be coming soon with falling ratings. Right now they have their ratings are amazing. Even a bad ratings day for them comparatively dwarfs anything else in sports, especially the NBA. And so, right now their day of reckoning is not, it's probably a few years off, but I do believe it's coming. I've alluded to that. I never really knew I've never really gotten much into it because I was too busy talking about the NBA and didn't really know how I wanted to articulate how I feel about the NFL. But I figure now is as good a time as any because with the news of Tyreek Hill wanting out of Miami and just basically saying I'm out, quitting on his team again. So I guess he's going to quit again like he quit on Kansas City. Um, it really it really highlights a lot of the issues going on with the NFL right now and how they're following the NBA, and also how the wide receiver position, one of the most important positions on the field, one of the most dynamic, and one that needs the most athleticism, is really not been all that important when it comes to winning and winning championships. If we're going to be honest with you, it seems like a lot of the times the teams with the best receivers or the best wide receivers, their teams are not the ones that win a lot, which is yet another reason why Jerry Rice has to be the unquestioned GOAT of wide receivers, and probably the NFL altogether, because I don't think anybody's better at their position than Jerry Rice was at wide receiver compared to everybody else. But that's another story. Um, but, just looking at the NFL nowadays, this is a tough season to watch. Not just because my Panthers are terrible. I expected that. They actually did better than I thought they would. I thought they were only going to win 2 or 3 games, so they surprised me a little bit. Hurt our draft pick, but it's not like we're going to do anything good with it anyways. Even if we did draft somebody good, like I said, our team structure, David Tepper, who's screwing the Carolinas over again in a video I'll be talking about soon. He Anybody we draft there is not going to do anything. So that doesn't really matter, like I said, until we get a new owner or until David Tepper finally sees the light and gets the heck out of the way and lets everybody else who knows what they're doing do their job, including the city councils and stuff like that. But of course, here my rant on David Tepper. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, Tyreek Hill once again. He was on the Chiefs' first championship team, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're part of their dynasty now. They've won 3 of the last 5. They have the best record. They basically played nobody in their last games. They already had the number 1 seed locked up and lost 38-0 to Denver. That's just how far ahead of the competition they are. It seems like they can just turn it on and off when they want to. My money is personally is on them to three-peat this year, to have the first Super Bowl era three-peat. But we'll see. Obviously, Detroit, you got to look at them. They're doing very good. I know Minnesota didn't get the division, but it's they still appear to really love their quarterback and appear to be doing well. But the Tyreek Hill one really got to me. I mean, it's been a bad season for him. He didn't get 1,000 yards. His quarterbacks got hurt. He just, he's definitely by far the most talented wide receiver in the league right now. Just the most naturally athletically gifted. I mean, he's somebody who could do a lot. But ever since he got separated from Patrick Mahomes, he's not done anything, while Patrick Mahomes just continued to win Super Bowls and MVPs. Like I said, he was on that first Super Bowl team with the Chiefs. He was on the second one that made it to the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, and that was a big talking point going into that game. The Chiefs had demolished Tampa Bay in the regular season, and Tyreek Hill was doing the peace sign and all that, and they wound up getting blown out of the water in that Super Bowl. It was the COVID Super Bowl, but still. He just they couldn't score a touchdown, which was pretty amazing to see. But they came back, but they got rid of Tyreek Hill and won 2 Super Bowls without him. Meanwhile, his time over in Miami, they have not done anything. I think they made the playoffs either once or twice, but I don't think they've won a playoff game. In a pretty weak division ever since Brady left the Patriots. Yeah, the Bills are obviously very good, but the Jets aren't anything, and the Patriots have been very bad. So they've had pretty much 4 easy games a year that they can't hardly win. And now he's quitting again. His attitude's just he just has a very very bad attitude, as do a lot of people. I mean, I'm not trying to just point him out. There's a lot of people that are hungry for fame and above all else, don't really care about team success. And that's always been kind of the knock on wide receivers. They care more about their individual stats, how many catches, how many yards. Even some of the best, or some of the people that you consider having the best attitudes, like Larry Fitzgerald. There's footage of him, and I think it was 2008 with Kurt Warner telling him, "Hey, can I get one more catch?" The game was out of reach. The game was pretty much done, and or maybe it was on the line or something like that. And he asked, do I, can you give me one more catch so I can get to the 100-yard mark for the game? And Kurt Warner shot back at him, and said, "Hey, do you care about yourself or you care about winning?" And we know Larry Fitzgerald cared more about winning, but he saw that in front of him and he had to take it. And that's kind of the wide receiver conundrum that we have. I actually made a list of this decade, basically from January of 2000, so I guess the '99 playoffs to present. I was looking over the top 25 receivers who've had the most yards since January of 2000, and it just shows that having the best wide receivers are not the biggest winners out there, because Larry Fitzgerald's number one. He's done an amazing job. He had Anquan Bolden alongside of him, and Anquan was, where was he? He's the fifth leading receiver of this century and this quarter of a century that's happened. And they made it to one Super Bowl and didn't win. The game-winning catch was done by Santonio Holmes, who made an amazing catch, but he's pretty much known for one thing and one thing only, and it's not that. Don't look it up, please. Seriously, don't look that up. But yeah, he's kind of a here today, gone today type of guy, which most wide receivers are, to be honest with you. When you have a position like that relies so much on athleticism, it doesn't really lend itself a lot to longevity for the most part. Now, if you're a workaholic like Jerry Rice, yes, and again, that's why he's the GOAT. But he's the exception to every rule, it seems like, when it comes to wide receivers. The number two wide receiver this since 2000, and this hurts my teal blue heart to say this, is Steve Smith Sr. He's the second leading. He needs to be in Canton. He's one of the best ever. He's my favorite Carolina Panther ever. I love that guy. He was only part of one Super Bowl run. And he did a great job, and we unfortunately lost. But he actually played a big role in us almost winning. He really did. And but we got rid of him and made it to a Super Bowl. Even though to this day I'll say we would have won Super Bowl 50 if we had Steve Smith, because he would have walked up and yanked a knot in Cam Newton's ass and said, "Get your head in the game." The whole game, Cam Newton just pouted and pouted because he wasn't playing well, and instead he just mentally checked out, and that's the big reason we lost. He wasn't diving on fumbles. I guarantee he would have dove in that fumble if he knew 89 was going to be on that sideline waiting for him. But I'm going off on another rant here, so he didn't get one. Number three was Reggie Wayne, who played all those years with Peyton Manning. Just really great career. He got one Super Bowl win with Peyton. Kind of an uninspiring Super Bowl run for all their really, really good seasons that Indy had that ended in playoff disappointment. But he got one. Andre Johnson, the silent assassin, he was on a lot of bad Texans teams. He couldn't really elevate them much beyond what they were, which is either no playoffs or first round exit, or I don't think he's ever part of a playoff win. I could be wrong about that, though. I already talked about Anquan Bolden. Julio Jones is number six. Again, just amazing athleticism. Seems to have left him recently, but in the mid 2010s, he was something. And he was a big part of Atlanta almost winning a Super Bowl, but again, they fell short after having a big lead. We've all heard that story a million times, so I'm not even going to go there. But like I said, he did an outstanding job, but he couldn't lift them above, Tom Brady with, Julian Edelman. That was pretty much their top receiver, and a lot of other unheralded guys. And that's the thing. Tom Brady won his Super Bowls with unheralded guys, which is something I'm going to get into in 1 second here. Number seven is Tony Gonzalez, the best tight end ever, the most prolific tight end ever. Again, he never won a Super Bowl. I think he was on that Falcons team too after being on the Chiefs forever, but he couldn't raise them up to that level. Jason Witten, another great tight end who caught a lot of passes for a long time for Dallas and was a part of a lot of those playoff disappointments with Tony Romo and I mean, I'm not trying to blame these guys. I'm just saying, you've got these guys. You think it would create something, and it doesn't. DeAndre Hopkins, outstanding, another outstanding athletic talent's number 9. No Super Bowl wins. Mike Evans is number 10, and he's a great wide receiver. He really is, and he was a part of that 2020 Tampa Bay Super Bowl win. But he was really not the number one target on that team. I mean, statistically, he might have been, but I mean, Tom Brady was always looking for Gronk first and foremost, his old buddy from New England from back in the day. So, I mean, Mike Evans did a great job, but it was in the Super Bowl. It was Gronk catching 3 touchdown passes. I don't think Mike Evans caught any, if I'm not mistaken. I think they ran the other touchdown, but and then of course 11, T.O. Terrell Owens. I don't really have to say much about him. He is ever living proof that a bad attitude, no matter how much talent you have, that talent cannot overcome a bad attitude. Period. One Super Bowl appearance, and a lot of fractured locker rooms in his wake. He did play great in the Super Bowl that he played in. It was a very uninspired slog fest. It was the Patriots' 3rd championship in 4 years. They beat the Eagles, who'd finally made it after losing 3 straight NFC championship games, including one at home to my Panthers and Steve Smith and Jake Delhomme and them. But they made it there. He played great, but even that wasn't enough to overcome an uninspired effort on both ends. So you'd think a great effort by him would overcome it, but no, it wasn't. Let's see here. Torrey Holt was number 12. Now he didn't win any in this century. He was part of that '99 championship team, but they had him, Isaac Bruce, and Ricky Prohl. The greatest show on turf to go along with Kurt Warner at quarterback and Marshall Faulk at wide receiver, or running back, excuse me. When you have that murderer's row, you're going to win at least one championship. I can't believe they didn't win more with that group. Tom Brady, yeah. But again, that just shows you 3 of the most talented wide receivers out there won championship. That's kind of crazy. And of course, 13, Randy Moss. I've talked a lot about Tom Brady a lot because when you talk about Super Bowls, you're going to be talking about Tom Brady a lot, especially this century. He had Randy Moss for a while, but he never won a Super Bowl with Randy Moss. He was part of that 16-0 team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl and lost to the Giants. Only scored 14 points. Randy Moss did get a touchdown, but I mean, you'd think you just throw it to Moss, and that's the thing. If you have a defensive line on the other team that's killing your quarterback before you can get those deep routes off, it don't matter. If I'm not mistaken, Randy Moss was also on the 2011 team that lost to the Giants in Indianapolis in that Super Bowl. And I think he was on the 49ers team with Kaepernick that lost that Super Bowl. So, unfortunately, he couldn't do it. I think he's the most physically gifted wide receiver ever to play the position. And I know by the time the 2000s started that, already 3 or 4 years of his prime had already happened. And then he wound up with some bad Raiders teams. He wanted out of Minnesota for some reason, and finally found his way in New England, and then kind of team hopped his way to the end of his career and called himself the GOAT. He's not the GOAT. He's nowhere close. That'd be Jerry Rice. Thank you very much. 14 was Brandon Marshall. I thought he was on that on Denver's championship team when they beat the Panthers, but actually he didn't play for Denver since 2009. I don't think he team hopped and I don't think he ever made a Super Bowl. Number 15, Antonio Brown. Man, you talk about one of the worst head cases out there. Again, amazing athletic ability. He was a part of that Super Bowl championship team with Tom Brady in the COVID year with Tampa. But again, him and Mike Evans. I don't know what the stats were, but I know watching it, Gronk was the focal point of Tom Brady's passing attack. He wanted to dump it down to Gronk as much as possible, and he did that, and they scored a lot of touchdowns, just like they did in New England. By the way, Gronk is not on this list because he was injured a lot and didn't have a chance to catch a lot in the regular season, but of course, had he done that, he might have worn himself out and not had a chance to be a part of 4 Super Bowl championship teams. Tom Brady's last 4, his last 3 in New England, and his 1 in Tampa. But the fact Randy Moss never won one is pretty crazy, and the fact that he was on some really good teams and they got disappointed in the Super Bowl was that just shows you again the wide receiver conundrum. And you can have all that swagger and attitude all you want, but I mean, you've got to somehow find a way to make the rubber hit the road. Because it's not until you get to number 16 that we have Travis Kelce. Now, he's a three-time Super Bowl champion, and he's probably been the overall focal point of Patrick Mahomes' passing attack. Get it to Travis Kelce in the mid-range, some longer range for a tight end, and really open up some deeper routes and, clear out some space so Patrick Mahomes can go out and run, which is something Tom Brady could never do, but he made up for it still. And so you have to give Travis Kelce, Mr. Taylor Swift, a lot of credit for what he's done. He's been a big part of that. Him and Patrick Mahomes just have an amazing chemistry. But he's only at number 16 on the list. Now, of course, he's up there when it comes to tight ends, but he doesn't really put up a lot of yardage. But again, that just goes back to the wide receiver conundrum. And again, if you're a team out there, Tyreek Hill, he's going to be very, very, enticing to get because of his ability to make a lot of stats, make a lot of crazy catches. But you're just, unless you're already a winner, he's not even going to put you over the top to be a winner. Because you look at the Chiefs, he wasn't the one putting them over the top. It was Travis Kelce, who was very statistically inferior. And again, I talked about Mike Evans and Antonio Brown on that Tampa Bay team that won the Super Bowl in 2020. And at the end of the day, Gronk was the one that kind of made that whole thing happen. He's the one who opened up a lot of space and commanded a lot of presence on the the mid routes and kind of gave them better chance on the far routes. So you just have to, if you're building a team, you obviously need a great quarterback. That's pretty much a given. But wide receivers, I don't know if I'd be going for a top 10 wide receiver. I'd be going for a good wide receiver. Obviously, you need some good slot receivers. That's a given. Your Julian Edelmans or people like that. Now, of course, they're only as good as their quarterback, but that goes without saying. And just some people that are going to go out there and do their job and run their routes. And if they have a game where the other team's schemed against them and they go out there and are held to one catch or no catches or just two catches for 5 yards or whatever, they're okay with it as long as they win. And you just have trouble finding that with wide receivers now. Like I said, Tyreek Hill just represents everything that to me is wrong with it because, like I said, you need athleticism to be a good wide receiver. But that's going to hurt the NFL overall because your best players and your most gifted and athletic players are not the ones having the success. He's not even being in the playoffs. He's the most probably athletically gifted person in the league at the moment. Might be some other ones I'm forgetting at the moment, but he's up there. He would be the playoffs would be better with him, with Tyreek Hill, than without him, attitude aside. And he's not going to be there. There's a lot of people that unfortunately are not going to be there. And Devontae Adams went to the Jets, which is a story I could go on about too. But he's not going to be there, and just the overall on-field product has been going down, and that's part of the NFL problem. The wide receiver problem leads to the NFL problem, and which leads to the attitude problems, or the attitude problems lead to the wide receiver problems, which leads to the on-field problems, or maybe it's just a viciously ending circle, never-ending circle. It's just hard to say because they, like I said, the NFL is going to be paying their piper because it's not a fun game to watch. Even the big games, it's just. On Christmas Day at our family's house, at Mom and Dad's house, they turned on the Steelers Chiefs game on Netflix because my granddaddy was stationed in the military in Kansas City. I think I mentioned this in a previous video with back in the day when Hank Stram and Lynn Dawson won their Super Bowl. So he's been a big Chiefs fan my whole life. He's actually my step grandfather, but he's the only one I've ever known. I never met my biological grandfather. He's the one I call granddaddy. He's been my granddaddy my whole life, and he's been a Chiefs fan my whole life. So anytime they've done good, there's a part of me that's felt good for him. I know he's enjoying it, and he loved the fact they got to watch this on Christmas Day. But even that game between a good Pittsburgh team that I believe is making the playoffs, good lord, it just wasn't a good game, and I just think they're gonna eventually run down the same road the NBA's run down if they don't hurry up and make some decisions now. This player empowerment, people like Tyreek Hill signing the big contract with the Dolphins, leaving that golden opportunity he had in Kansas City to be, probably not get as many yards, but I mean, get a lot of yards and win a lot of rings. A la Travis Kelsey. I mean, we're going to remember Travis Kelsey, and not just because he's Mr. Taylor Swift, but because of what he did with that for that team and with that team. Um, and Tyreek Hill's probably going to get forgotten. I was looking at some of these names on this list I was telling you about, and some of them I had to think back to. Reggie Wayne for a second. Reggie Wayne, he's a part of that. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, along with Edgerrin James at running back. That Indianapolis Colts just juggernaut that won so many games, had so many high playoff seeds that didn't work. And, I'd almost forgotten about him. Kind of got lost in the shuffle. Andre Johnson, the silent assassin. He's a guy who probably needed to have a little more of an attitude. It's hard to say that, but I mean, he stayed loyal which is a good thing, except when you're staying loyal to a team that sucks. Charles Barkley, he stayed loyal to the 76ers until he didn't, and he was right to do so. His time with the Suns is what really put him over the top as a legend, but that's another sport. Obviously, Julio Jones, I mean, gosh, he was the best wide receiver in the league less than 10 years ago, and on the team that was, 20 minutes and 25 points away from winning the Super Bowl, and him probably being the MVP with some of those catches he made. He's almost been forgotten. I don't know how many people, Steve Smith Sr., I mean, if it wasn't for the fact I'm a huge Panthers fan and love that guy, my favorite Panther ever, I might not remember him. And that's sad to say, because, I mean, he was special, and I feel so much, gratitude to him for being able to watch him. He really made my time as a Panthers fan a lot better. I'll never forget that. But I wonder how many people outside of Carolina, remember that. Remember Agent 89, and you talk about an attitude and a swagger. Man, he had it, and he had it in spades, but he also didn't really have a great quarterback, and and the one great quarterback he did have, Cam Newton, who was great for a short period of time. Cam kind of ran him off because he was, up his rear end saying, you've got all this talent, you should be doing better. And Cam didn't want to hear it, which again leads back to more attitude issues in the league. You just see some of these people, and it's just like, you're making all this money, you've got somebody trying to make you better. It might not be a kind way, he might not be very kind about it, but do you want to be great? Or do you want to be the guy that wears all those stupid clothes and makes stupid takes on stupid television programs like Cam Newton, and ultimately be the guy who did not dive on the football? I will yell that till the day I die. I'm still mad at him for that, and I'll never forgive him for that. But, that's just, again, that's the NFL's attitude problem. It's been going on for a while, just like the NBA's issues went on for a while. And now they're paying the piper, and if the NFL thinks they're too big to fail, that they're not going to be paying the piper at some point. The Tennessee Titans, they fell out of playoff contention. One of the most loyal fan bases out there had a horrible home game attendance. I mean, it looked like a USFL game, or whatever it's called now. I mean, I have a lot of respect for them, but when they put them in large NFL stadiums, they have a hard time putting the people there because they're not established yet. And plus, at that point, people are kind of footballed out. That's the thing about football. That advantage they have is their season. They leave you basically having had just enough. You're not fatigued by the time it's over, unless the product's bad, which has been this year. So I've been fatigued for quite some time. But to the NFL, I mean, if you think you need to be looking and paying very careful attention to the NBA, because that will be you. Might not be next year, it might not be 5 years from now, but if you keep down this path, it will be you. Probably sooner rather than later, or sooner than you'd want it to be. I personally, if they keep on this road, I see massive rating drops starting within the next 2 to 3 years at least, if not next year, because people are very, very dissatisfied with the product this year. So that's my take on that. Man, feel free to, if you disagree or have something you want to say it in the comments. I'm happy to hear it. I hear some of the not so good things about the videos, and I pay attention to that, because I don't take it personally. If I can make it better, because I mean, like I said, I'm not here to have wonderfully produced videos. It's just me staring at my phone talking. So And I get it, that's probably not going to be a lot of people's things, but that's all I really got right now. So, if there's anything you think I could do, hey, leave it down there if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Or, like I said, I'm always good down for a good sports debate. I really like that. So, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'm still getting. I'm not a huge success at all. I wouldn't even call myself a success, but it's more than I thought. I've got more views and more viewers and more subscribers than I thought I'd have. So, thank you guys. If you like what you see, drop a subscription. Hey, maybe I can eventually make some money off of this. So, uh, hey, capitalism, one can dream. So, thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later.